Hey, DJ. Man, I'm just not feeling it today. I think I need a refill on this coffee or something, man.
Uh-oh, looks like someone has a case of the Mondays.
But it's Friday. What the heck are you talking about?
We're a couple of guys who like to watch movies, cinema nerds who made it our duty to make a show where we break down, discuss, and review. We're the men who watch movies.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Men Who Watch Movies. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ the Movie Man Wagner, also known as the Chairman of Entertainment.
Definitely. I love that new title for you, by the way.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You are the creative force behind this podcast,
yep.
So it fits perfectly. We have another wonderful episode today. We're going to discuss the movie Office Space.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites. We thought we'd just talk about it.
Old classic of the 90s.
Mike Judge, amazing
the
creator.
Great talented thespian himself, Mike Judge.
You just really throw that term around.
Well, the only thing is that, he voiced Beavis and Butthead. He is...
Very true.
He was on King of the Hill.
Oh, yeah, the creator of King of the Hill and the voice of Hank Hill. He's very, very, very talented. There's a lot of great stuff. But Office Space is one of my favorite projects that he done. So we're going to discuss that today. But first, like always, we're going to get into a little bit of information about the movie industry.
This week in movie news.
You got it. All right, it's time for another edition of This Week in Movie News. We have a lot to discuss. First off, Ferris Bueller, a wonderful movie from 1986 starring the great, help me, I'm drawing a blank.
Matthew Broderick
Matthew
himself.
Broderick. I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
Wonderful movie by...
Great movie by...
John Hughes.
John Hughes, of course. Apparently, there's a spin-off in the works. They're planning on doing a movie. You know those those parking structure attendants that they take the Ferrari to?
Oh.
And then they go on a joyride? Remember those guys?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Apparently, they're going to do a spin-off movie about those guys. It's going to be called Sam and Victor's Day Off.
Wow, that has to be different. So, I mean, it's creative, but who knows?
What do you think about that? It's kind of random, right?
Well, it looks random, but,
Random!
I don't know. It seems like it has some potential. I don't know. I mean, it definitely has that nostalgia factor that Hollywood's going after nowadays. I wonder if they're going to de-age them. I don't know. I'm assuming the actors are still alive, and I don't know how they're going to pull this off. Are they going to recast them? And there's so many questions. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical whether, I don't know, if there's any good intentions behind this. If they get the right people to do it, it might work. Apparently, John Hurwitz, Hayden, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Schlossberg, and Josh Hield of Cobra Kai are to produce. And then Bill Posley, he's also a part of Cobra Kai. He wrote for Cobra Kai, and he also wrote for the sitcom The Neighborhood. He's set to write the script. So Cobra Kai is a great series. Have you? I think I asked you last week, but have you seen it?
I have seen it. This is so awesome.
It's a great series.
Flashbacks of Mr. Miyagi himself.
Yeah.
Rita, rest in peace, my friend.
I'm having deja vu. But if they're behind the script, and producing, it has a very good potential of being a great movie. So hopefully, it sounds interesting. I will look forward to seeing more about this project. And Gary Busey has been in the news, but not for good things. The actor is facing sex crime charges. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah,
Gary
police.
Busey,
I'm a fan of Point Break. He was in Point Break. He played Angelo Pappas. He's awesome.
He no longer. He is awesome. No longer. He has fallen from grace. The police stated that the 78-year-old actor inappropriately touched 3 women during an autograph signing at a convention. It was called Monster Mania Con in New Jersey. Oh, I mean, that's gross. I mean, what do you think about that?
That is a real puzzler. I mean, like, holy moly, what the WTF is going on?
I mean, I can't imagine Gary Busey touching me. It's just...
That was the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's disgusting. Apparently, he was the real monster at the monster convention. So, I mean, he's been... I don't know if he's been charged yet, but they brought up the charges against him. I don't know if he's been convicted of it yet, but that's gross. And he's an old-ass man, and he just needs to keep his hands to himself. Can't imagine the horrors of being abused by Gary Busey. I don't want to think about it. Moving on now.
Moving on!
Ryan Gosling is in talks to join Margot Robbie in Ocean's 11 reboot. Have you seen any of the Ocean's movies?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, with, that great thespian himself, George Clooney. He is a great actor, very, very talented.
So now, from what I understand, there was original Ocean's movies, right, with like the Rat Pack.
Yeah,
am I correct?
Frank Sinatra,
that's the ones I'm thinking
Jr., Dean Martin, stuff like that. I mean, I actually do have one Rat Pack movie. It's called Robin and the Seven Hoods.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Thumbs up to that.
And then they did a remake with Clooney and all those guys, right?
Yeah, I actually thought it was like a very, very good take. It's a very, very good take, and of course the acting is phenomenal. It's terrific.
Yeah, I've heard
it has
good
all
things
the
about that
stuff and whatnot. Bernie Mac is awesome.
Oh,
may
R.I.P.
rest in peace, sir.
I love Bernie Mac. His show was hilarious.
And it's on rerun, so
oh yeah.
Don't forget to watch it.
I haven't seen any of them. I should give them a watch. How did you like all the Ocean? How many of the Ocean's movies did they make?
Well, actually, they made Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, and recently they made a movie called Ocean's 8.
Oh, that's right. And that was the female reboot.
Oh yeah, but it was really, really good. Sandra Bullock is a really, really good actor. It turns out that George Clooney was gonna have a cameo in there, but kind of a little bit of a mix-up, kind of a little strange plot, but still a great, great movie.
Awesome, I got to check them out. Of course, they're heist movies, right? I like those heist kind of movies.
Oh yeah, they're very action, adventure, very full of crazy ideas. But hey, it is what it is. The movie industry is what it is, and
a wild
it is what
beast.
it is. Art imitates life, and life imitates art.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. We'll see how this new reboot is. I mean, I like Ryan Gosling a lot, and Margot Robbie's been in a lot of good stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just kind of leaning into this now. Hollywood has just gone. I mean, they've been this way for a while now, full on out of ideas, kind of just reboot, rechurn everything. Hopefully, they can bring something new to the table. I'm trying to stay positive about it.
Oh, yeah, so am I. But sometimes movies some days are just full of, WTF, that's a puzzler. I mean, there's so movies which are so good, and then all of a sudden they have a puzzler and a different plot to it. I'm like, what?
What?
It's weird.
Yeah. Okay, next bit of movie news here. Jason Momoa is going to be in the new Fast and Furious movie. I didn't know that. I didn't hear about
the
his casting in
Aquaman
there.
himself, Jason Momoa.
So apparently he's going to be in the Fast and the Furious 10. I don't know if there's like a special title. I think they're just calling it Fast 10, right? Like with Fast X, but it's like the Roman numeral for 10.
Making? I mean, it's like a holy moly. It's like they made like what? 1 through 10. It's like,
yeah, man, they keep going with them. And I also must admit, I know we're the men who watch movies, but I have not seen the Fast and the Furious series.
Well, that's okay.
Sorry, guys.
It's all right. It's all right, buddy. I mean, you have not seen the Fast and Furious. I highly recommend it.
I'm more slow and serious than Fast and Furious, but I feel like maybe maybe it's time to give them a watch. Also, I have a feeling I'm going to be binging the Oceans movies and the Fast and Furious movies very soon.
Well,
maybe we'll do a review of some of them.
Binge movies, watch movies. Sometimes people rent movies. Sometimes people buy movies. I think you know who that is.
I think it's you. Anyway, Jason Momoa has described his character as quirky and androgynous. So I wonder if it's like I don't know. He plays a villain in this movie, and he said he's excited because he doesn't get a chance to play too many villains nowadays. I mean, of course, being Aquaman, and usually plays like the hero lead. So he said it's seems to be sadistic and fun. I don't know. That could be anything. I can't wait to see how he plays this. We'll see what's going on.
Well, actually, John Cena was going to be the voice of Dom Toretto's brother in Fast and Furious 9. So I guess, he has a plot story. So very, very interesting. So in the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff, we got to see Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, who's a badass actor, and of course we saw Idris Elba as
that's right. He was in that guy. Too. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot they made that spin-off. So technically there's like 11 movies in this whole franchise. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just out of this world.
I try to see movies with John Cena in them, but I just can't see him.
He's so good.
Anyone? No? Okay. Anyway, Moving on from my bad jokes. Avatar is returning to theaters on September 23rd. They're doing a 4K HDR, that's a high dynamic range, re-release ahead of the December release of Avatar 2, The Way of Water. We were just talking about this earlier off the pod. I haven't seen Avatar. It was like a big... I'm just talking about movies I haven't seen today. But it was like a big thing when it came out. It was hugely popular. It's still the highest grossing movie of all time. It made like $2.84 billion. And I don't know. I felt like there was so much hype behind it. It just kind of put me off to seeing it. Now, you said you saw it. Did you like it?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. There was like, special effects and stuff like that. The plot was very, very different and whatnot, but
from what I heard, the plot is very similar to like Pocahontas or something.
In a way, yeah.
It's like a sci-fi Pocahontas rehash.
But it has Sigourney Weaver and Stephen Lang and a whole new plot and whatnot. But
yeah, Zoe Saldana.
The thing is that why is it returning to theaters? I mean,
they're trying to get people hyped because it's been so long since the first one. And they want to make it fresh in their minds, and then they get ready for the second one, so that way they don't go in cold.
Well, yeah, it's very, very awesome. The way that they're doing this stuff. Very being creative and whatnot, and new movies are coming out in theaters. Yeah. There's so much good stuff out there. So
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that regardless of what people may think about the plot or its originality, it definitely brought something new to the table in terms of technology. I love movies that always push the boundaries. Going way back to Star Wars and how that spawned a whole, effects industry, and until nowadays, they're still finding ways of making innovations. And James Cameron has always been a big part of that.
He was a part of the Terminator franchise, if I'm not correct. Yeah, he was part of the franchise.
Yeah, and of course, all the stuff that they did with like the Abyss and T2 with the.
I actually have a director's cut.
T1000. Yeah,
I have a director's cut of that. It is like full of deleted scenes that were not.
Yeah, I love that.
In the original T2 theatrical cut.
Yeah, we got to do a show on the Terminator franchise soon. Maybe coming up, but we'll see. Moving on. They're making another Halloween movie. I think they made it already, but it's going to come out on October 14th, 2022, and it's going to be a simultaneous release in theaters and on Peacock.
Wow.
Which a lot of streaming services, they're not doing that anymore.
I have no why. I don't know why they're doing that, but they should do it.
Yeah, they're trying to do a big push to go back to the theaters, but they're still doing it on Peacock. So luckily for me, now I can just watch it at home and we can do a review on it. I kind of want to do a whole backlog of, maybe we could do a marathon watch of the Halloween movies.
Oh, in a way. I mean,
I've seen a few of them, and I want to kind of catch up. I saw Halloween.
The first one?
The first one, of course, which is the best one. And then I saw the one, not Halloween, not the one before this newest Halloween, but the one that would I don't know. This it's hard to describe which one. It was the one that was before the last one.
Halloween 2?
I don't know. Anyway, I saw some of the Halloween movies. Anyway, yeah. Well, so this one's going to come to streaming right away, so we'll get to watch it. We can talk about it on the show. Yeah. Yeah, I heard the last one. I think it was Halloween. Was it Halloween Kills or something?
Yeah.
I heard there was a hot garbage fire.
I heard that one time. I don't know what happened, but there was so much people talking in the theater. It was like, Oh,
you saw it in theaters?
Well, no, just that so many people were talking in the theater, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but something about that movie just it's it's
I
creative and whatnot.
I saw some people talking about it online and saying it was terrible. So we'll see what we're in store for. They always say this is the last one, and there's always one more because they're able to squeeze the money out of the consumer just enough to justify a new one. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
It's all about just seeing and waiting. Anyway, moving on. The Batman director Matt Reeves has signed a multi-year deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. Woo-hoo! So that means that the Batman franchise is safe. We're going to see another installation, probably maybe a couple more installations of the Batman. So that's going to be great. I love I know we talked about this many times, starting with our very first episode, which is only available on as an audio podcast, but.
It's available on audio podcasts. It's available on
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor.
It's available.
But that was our very first podcast.
Keep on watching.
We're not ending the show yet. I feel like you just want to end it already.
No, not really.
It's because my incessant droning and talking.
No, it's not that.
But we'll get to the main event soon enough. But yeah. I mean, I know we already talked about this. We both love the Batman, and we look forward to
Adam West Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh yeah, we love all Batman.
The Christian Bale Batman. Not so much the George Clooney Batman,
but the Pattinson Batman. Oh yeah,
he is awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Moving on, I'm gonna try and turn this out now. Now getting to the end of the movie news segment, so we're gonna give tribute to those we had lost in the industry. Now this happened maybe a few weeks ago, and I forgot to bring it up. I didn't get a chance to put it on our last episodes, but director Wolfgang Peterson has passed away at the age of 81. His films include Das Boot, In the Line of Fire, The Perfect Storm, and my personal favorite, The Never-Ending Story. He will be missed. Told some wonderful tales in the history of cinema. We'll go give those a rewatch. Great stuff.
Actually, I've already seen In the Line of Fire. That was actually a pretty good movie with Clint Eastwood, John Mahoney, the late John Mahoney. We're going to miss you, sir.
Definitely. And Virginia Patton Moss, the last surviving adult cast member of It's a Wonderful Life, has also passed away at the age of 97. She actually played Ruth Dakin Bailey. She was the wife of the brother, Harry Bailey.
Oh, I remember It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's
what a life.
What a wonderful life. What a wonderful life.
She will also be missed. I love that. That's one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. It's just, in fact, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
There was a reboot of it, but I liked the it was with Richard Attenborough. He played Santa Claus.
No, that's Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah.
It's a whole other movie entirely. Yeah. But that's another discussion for another time.
Yep.
And this brings us to the end of This Week in Movie News. Now let's get on to the main show. So this week we watched Office Space, and it's one of those movies you watch it and it just gets better with age. Would you agree?
Yep. It just gets better and better with age. Mike Judge, the great thespian, the great actor. He is so talented. He voiced Beavis and Butthead. If you can tell, the characters wore an MTV shirt, a Metallica shirt. In King of the Hill, he voiced Boomhauer, Hank Hill. He did some other voices. He is so talented. This movie, Office Space, is so funny, and I highly recommend it.
Definitely. What I like about the comedy stylings of Mike Judge is that he takes a lot from his personal life, observations that he's made, and a lot of the great comedians and creators do this. You can't just pull stuff out of nowhere. But he really hones in on those little moments that are just so hilarious in everyday life, and it's so relatable, especially in this movie. And we've seen elements of that in his other projects as well. King of the Hill, not so much Beavis and Butthead. That's a little more out there, but.
Well, yeah, Beavis and Butthead is so funny,
But even those characters, he took inspiration from people that he's run into in his everyday lives. But,
he's talented.
But I think Office Space is one of the most relatable. If anyone's worked in a mundane job, you can just really kind of relate to these characters and their struggles throughout the movie. So the movie follows a guy named Peter. He's stuck in a boring office job, 9-to-5 kind of deal, and he's hating his life. He's miserable. He's basically another cog in the wheel at what is it called? Initech.
Initech.
Yeah,
someone like Initech.
It's this company. What do they even do? It's just
they fix program softeners.
Program softener.
They fix programs on the TV or the computer.
Yeah, there's something about that. I know specifically his job is to update the software. This is the point where it's right on the edge of the new millennium. Remember that? Remember everybody? No? Okay. Y2K and all that good stuff. Apparently they have to switch over all the dates from, in the 19 blah, blah, blah to, the new, the 2000s. And that's his job. He has to make the switch happen. And so... he just living that mundane, boring life.
Yep. But he is still going strong.
At some point, he just over it. He just kind of living like a zombie.
Well, the thing was that Ron Livingston, he was in Office Space.
Yes.
He was on a TV show called House MD.
Oh, yeah, he was in that.
Yeah, he made a guest appearance. He was doctor, and of course, Hugh Laurie's character, Dr. House, is very makes snide remarks, but you gotta love that.
I haven't seen that show in forever.
Awesome.
So. And then he was also in the movie Idiocracy, right? It was also by Mike Judge, which is
very, very fantastic.
That's a whole nother movie I want to get into later. Excuse me. So he, like I said, he's just kind of over it. The movie starts with this traffic jam. We've all experienced traffic jams, especially if you live in somewhere in a big city area. We're based out of California, so
traffic jams are
seen that
just surprising stuff.
You've seen that lovely California traffic. And,
but
it's very, very relatable.
Yeah. It is what it is.
He's just sitting there frustrated, and then it's funny because he's inching, inch by inch, trying to get through traffic, and there's an old man on a walker, and he's walking faster than all the cars. At this point, it's just faster to walk than sit in traffic. And then everyone's trying to get to work. You kind of see all the characters get introduced, just sitting in traffic, and then you have Michael Bolton. As he's named in the movie.
Oh yeah,
played by what's his name?
David Herman. He's been on Mad TV, and he's also voiced a lot of stuff on King of the Hill. He does a lot of voice acting and whatnot. He's hilarious. You see him in the car. He's listening to rap music. And he gets embarrassed at one point because there's a guy walking by. I think he's selling flowers or something, or something like that.
And then he turns it down because there's a bunch of curse words and whatnot. And he's kind of. And he locks his door.
Is the thing of the
He's trying to act all gangster, and then he turns down the music and he locks the door when somebody walks by, because he is not a gangster. And then so that's it's basically showing them on their way to work, and then he goes to work and he's just miserable, like I mentioned. And then one of his coworkers notices, and then they say that famous line.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
And he's
it was some secretary person, some actress, which I have no familiarity of.
Yeah,
but it was a very, very comical movie, and I highly recommend that you watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's funny.
Me too. That's why we're talking about it.
Yep.
But yeah, so he's just not having it, and so he goes out to have a coffee at a coffee shop, and then
with Jennifer Aniston, who's in the movie.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's where they see, right? That's where she's working at. They go to have coffee where she's working at, right?
Yeah, or someplace else. I have no idea, but it's like, the actors stuff, Mike Judge picked the actors because I guess, with his, history of, Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, I guess he wanted to make a fresh new movie. This guy is talented, so I guess,
I mean,
if he's going to make another movie, then he should make another movie.
I know, right? He's good at picking actors. I love the actors that he chooses. They're very, he always makes sure they're very fitting for the role. So Jennifer Aniston, she's working at this coffee shop, and, Peter and his friends are all, they admire her because they think she's beautiful and whatnot. And then they have this discussion about, like, are we really going to do this job? Like, we're going to be here till we're in our 50s, just miserable. Like, what is this life, basically? They're just having this discussion about, what are we going to do? Like, this can't be it, And I think everyone's had that discussion at some point. Like, what am I going to do with my life, And then there's this guy, I can't remember his name right now, but the actor, what is the actor? He's from Grounded for Life.
Something. His name is the guy with the mustache. That angry guy. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, he was the grandpa from Grounded for Life.
It's
We'll get to that later. But he comes. He comes over to the guy. He's all worried because he hears that there's going to be evaluations happening, and he's fearing that their jobs are on the line. They're going to go in and start asking questions and figure out that maybe they're not cut out to be at that job, and he's worried he's going to get laid off, and he's just stressing over it. Everyone's kind of stressing over it, and so that throws like a monkey wrench into their day even further. Peter goes home, and he goes and talks to his neighbor Lawrence, played by the great Diedrich Bader. I love that guy ever since the Drew Carey show.
And, he's been funny.
He's hilarious and everything. I actually met him once at the Los Angeles comic book convention.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he's I remember I got one of those pamphlets where he was talking about Batman Brave and the Bold, where he's voicing Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And, his talented voice is fantastic.
Yeah, I just happened to run into him, and he was nice enough to take a picture, and I'll pop it up here somewhere, maybe in the screen. But yeah, humble brag. Anyway, so his neighbor, his name is Lawrence, and he's talking to him. He's he's like a construction worker dude, and mustache. He's very, matter-of-fact kind of guy. And he's just talking. At first, he lives in an apartment that has paper thin walls, so he hears him come home, and he's talking to him through the wall, right? And he's like, you know what? You could just come over. I don't want to talk to you through the wall. If you want to talk, you could just come over, dude. So he comes over and visits him, and they have a discussion about, just what's going on. And he starts talking to him. Hey, how's your girlfriend doing? And he's like, I think she's cheating on me. And or I think it's Peter that says, oh no, it's Lawrence, right?
Yep. Lawrence.
Well, no, Peter thinks that she's cheating on him, and I think Lawrence agrees.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, man, that sucks. And then they start having a discussion, if he had $1 million, because Peter was talking about how he had a counselor when he was in school that would say, if you had $1 million, you can do whatever you wanted to do. What would you do? And that would be the career that you should choose. And so he was asking Lawrence, what would you do if you had $1 million? And he's like,
2 chicks at the same time, man.
This is the guy that he is.
Random stuff.
He's like, really?
That's hilarious.
He's like, that's what you would do with $1 million. He's like, yeah, man. And he's like, you know what I would do? And Peter's like, I would do nothing. If I had $1 million, I would just sit back on my ass and do nothing. And Lawrence is like, well, you don't need $1 million to do that, man. He's like, my cousin, he doesn't do shit, and he doesn't have a job, and he's broke. And he doesn't do shit. So he's like, you don't need $1 million to do that, which I thought was pretty funny. And then there's this hilarious character named Milton, played by
Stephen Root.
The great Stephen Root, who plays Bill Dauterive on King of the Hill.
Thespian, who's very, very funny.
Thespian Stephen Root.
He is the great thespian, and of course, tell it like it is. He is funny. He he's a fan of science fiction.
Uh-huh.
His first appearance was in Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, really? Is that his first appearance?
Yeah. And his
Interesting.
first appearance, and of course, after that, it was Star Trek: The Next Generation, and he's a fan of sci-fi. So I guess he plays a Klingon. So I guess he wore that heavy makeup and whatnot.
Oh, really?
He was highly unrecognizable, but you can recognize that face. So it's just it is what it is.
In this movie, he plays like a very neurotic kind of guy. He's always kind of mumbling, and he's kind of shy, but then he's also like I feel like he's always mad because he's getting like kind of left off to the side, and he's just very odd. And he has those big glasses with like the Coke bottle, thick glasses. It makes his eyes all huge, and he's very attached to his stapler, his red swing line, and he's mad because they keep moving around his desk, and he's complaining to Peter on the phone at one point about how if they keep taking my stapler, and then I want and they keep moving around my desk, and if they do that one more time, I'm going to burn the building down. And this kind of sets up future events. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, not to
get too off topic
here. And then, he's talking to Peter on the phone, which is funny because he's literally like a cubicle over, but he's talking to him on the phone. It's a little funny bit there. And then this takes place on a Friday. Peter's trying to leave for the weekend, and he's trying to get out of there before his boss sees him.
Bill Lundberg, which is played by the great thespian himself, Gary Cole.
Yeah. He's like the perfect asshole boss. He's perfect for that role. So he's trying to get out of there because he knows if he sees him, he's probably going to get stuck working on the weekends. And lo and behold, he's unable to get out successfully, and he gets called in for Saturday. And then he's like, "I'm going to need you to come into Sunday as well." And then, of course, his famous line.
The introduction with the Bobs.
Well, no. First, though, his what's his famous line that he says?
All right, if you can take care of this one thing for me. All right. Thanks a bunch.
No, he has a more famous line.
He has if you can take care of those TPS reports, that would be great.
There you go. I had to help you along there. That'd be great. It's just typical bullshit boss talk and whatnot.
Just angry stuff.
Yeah. So he gets caught stuck in on the weekend, and then at some point. Peter, his girlfriend, she convinces him to go to some kind of hypnotherapy kind of thing. And so he decides to go. He's like, maybe it'll help me out and whatnot, because he's feeling down, and maybe this will help him out. And so in the middle of his session, the hypnotherapist, sorry, I can't speak sometimes, played by the actor who plays Franklin Delano Romanowski on Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
I never noticed that till
his name
recently.
But, he's just funny.
Kramer's neighbor, FDR. He was playing the therapist, and he's doing this like hypno thing, trying to put Peter in a trance to calm him down about everything that's going on in his life. And in the midst of this, the poor therapist has a heart attack, but at the same time, something breaks in Peter, and he has like an epiphany, and he just has like a calm come over him, so much to the fact that he just kind of ignores the fact that his therapist just had a heart attack, and he walks out to his car, and he just realizes that maybe I don't have to put up with this bullshit of everyday work, 9 to 5, whatever, and he doesn't want to, he just kind of, he just kind of says, fuck it.
Yeah, he's a man who just doesn't, give a blankety blank.
Rat's ass?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we can curse on here. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
We're all adults here.
Well, man, it's a really, really funny movie with a lot of badass actors.
Yeah. Really
awesome and full of potential and very, very awesome. And I highly recommend this movie.
Definitely. So he goes to sleep that night. He wakes up because he's supposed to be at work the next day, but you know what, he just sleeps in because he feels like it, and I wish I could do that. And he just laying there,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I know, right? The phone's ringing, he just laying there all cozy in his bed, in his blankets and whatnot. Bill is just leaving him a bunch of messages about how he's supposed to be in work, and even his girlfriend calls him. And then like, hey, he finally picks up, and she's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be at work. Why aren't you at work right now? He's like, I don't really want to go into work today. And then she's like, what the fuck's up with you? And, it's like, and you're acting really strange.
Angry.
And she's like getting mad at the fact that he walked out on his therapist who had a heart attack. And she's like, I think he ends up hanging up on her, right? And she calls back and she's like, you know what, we're through. And you know what, I have been cheating on you. And he doesn't give a shit because he's calm and collected and he's just going to do him. And he just had that epiphany that, you know, it's just something that he needed, I guess, in his life at that moment. And he's just kind of doing him from that point on.
Yeah, you know, this movie just brings back so much nostalgia. And it does bring back a lot of nostalgia because there's a lot of actors.
You know why? It brings back nostalgia because it had a lot of the old computers and analog technology. There's some, you know, of course there's internet, but it just from the old 90s computers. Anyways, Peter goes on and he goes back to that place where Jennifer Aniston's character is working, and he asks her out to lunch. You know, because he has that new confidence. He has that. The big dick energy, as people say nowadays. Anyway, and then finally, the people come to show up to do the evaluations at Initech. Bob and Bob, played by John McGinley and Paul Wilson. John McGinley, of course, a great actor. He was in Platoon. He was, of course, you know, from the show Scrubs.
Another great thespian.
Definitely, yeah. He's really good actor. And then also Paul Wilson from Cheers.
Another great thespian. Who is awesome and funny.
Definitely. You know, he's one of the funny background actors in Cheers. He's like a little bit more than a background actor, but he pops up in like a lot of the episodes actually. So they're conducting evaluations, like I said, to see, you know, who's going to make the cut. They swear that it's not, you know, they're not going to, you know, they're not there to fire anybody, but of course that's not the case. They're there to cut the chaff, and they're speaking with everybody. The first person they talk to is the guy from Grounded for Life, the old grandpa from Grounded for Life, and he's so nervous. He thinks he's going to get canned, so he's just trying to justify his position there badly, and he's just like, you know, he's trying to describe what he does there, and he's getting angry and whatnot. Yeah. And then so Peter is having lunch with Jennifer Aniston. She's complaining about her job and how she, you know, it's bullshit. And she has to. They make her wear like these buttons on her. They wear like these suspenders. They call them pieces of flair. They're like little like enamel pins and buttons and whatnot. Just
it is what it is. No,
just funny, to be exciting and fun. You know. And she's her boss keeps hassling her because she doesn't have enough pieces of flair. It's super relatable. You know, I work retail jobs where they're like, you know, because, you know, you do what they say, this is the requirements, you fulfill that, and they're still not happy because you're like, well, you know, you're doing the minimum, but shouldn't you be doing more than the minimum? And that's what they keep telling her. And I've had that talk before, and it's no fun. It's stupid. Anyway. And then Peter talks about how he hates his job too, and how he's updating the software for the 2000 Switch, and he decides that he tells her he's not going to do his job anymore. He just doesn't want to. And she's like, "What? Aren't you worried about bills? Like, how are you?" And he's like, "I don't like paying bills either. I'm not going to do that." And he's like, "You know what I want to do? I just want to take you out to dinner, and then maybe we can watch some kung fu movies." And she's like, "I love kung fu movies." So he's living the high life right now. He doesn't care. He just doesn't give a flip.
He's a carefree spirit that Peter Gibbons, that very, very awesome, good actor, that really, really talented Ron Livingston, great thespian, by the way.
Anyway, about that. So back at the office, Bill Lombard, he keeps hassling Milton, poor Milton. They keep moving around his desk. They keep having him push it around, and Milton gets mad, and they're having him move downstairs into the basement, and he takes his beloved stapler, and Milton's he's just not having it. Which later on we find out Milton's not even supposed to be there. Apparently he got fired, but due to a clerical error, they still have him on the payroll, and he gets paid. So he just shows up and he works, even though he's technically, he's not even supposed to be there, and which is kind of strange. It just shows how kind of a weird guy he is. Peter, finally shows up to work after ghosting them for a while to get his address book. And then they decide, Bob and Bob, who's doing the evaluations, they decide to give Peter his evaluation. And he's just very nonchalant about it. He tells him the truth. He's like, you know what? To be honest, I always show up to work late. I just kind of stare at my computer, pretending to work for a few hours. I maybe get a little bit of work done, and then I just kind of
space off.
Yeah, he's like honestly, I only work about like 15 minutes a day. It's not that I'm just lazy; it's just that I don't care. He's like, there's no motivation, and I think we've all felt like that at some point, where it's just like they're basically the only motivation is not getting fired, and he's like, the only thing that's going to do to people is give them just enough motivation to do the bare minimum, so they don't get canned. There's no motivation to go above and beyond, because when they do go above and beyond, they don't. It's not like they give them any accolades or a raise. They just keep on keeping on, and they don't get recognized. So it's like, what's the point? It's funny because. Cutting back to the interview with the Bobs and Peter, they think he's a straight shooter, even though he's admitting that he barely works at all. They think that he's just telling the truth, and he's honest with them when other people aren't. And so they actually decide to give him a raise, and they feel like it's the boss's fault, that it's Lumberg's fault, that he's not motivating him enough. And it's just funny because at the point where he was actually kind of trying at his job, they didn't see all the stuff that he was doing for them, and now that he's just like, fuck it, they're like, hey, you know what, you're a straight shooter, I'm gonna give you a raise. And I just think that's hilarious. Peter continues doing what he's doing. They have that song playing, it feels good to be a gangster when on the background, and he's just going fishing. He's living his life. He's taking Jennifer Aniston out fishing with him. He actually guts the fish on his desk. That was so gross.
Which is just disgusting. I mean, like,
I hope he Lysoled it afterwards, but
you don't do that stuff. That's just gross.
He does whatever he wants because he's over it, man.
He's a carefree man.
He's living his life, and you can't fault that, man. And he even disassembles his cubicle to give himself extra space, and he's just watching kung fu movies, living the life. And Bill Lumberg comes over to Peter and tells him, hey, what about those TPS reports, And then he's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, what? He's like, I'm going to need you to do those. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And in fact, I'm too busy. I have a meeting with the Bobs. And
of course, he is playing Tetris on his computer.
Yeah, is that what he was doing?
Oh, yeah.
And so he's like, I'm not going to do those reports. I have a meeting with the Bobs later. I'm too busy. And Bill Lumberg didn't even know about it. And he's the boss. And it turns out that's when they announced that they're promoting him. But the problem is that they're firing his friends, Michael, Bolton, and Amir. And it's funny too. I love that interview that when Michael has with the Bobs, and then John McGinley's Bob, he's telling him how much he's like, hey, because everyone keeps asking, are you related to the singer Michael Bolton? And he just gets so pissed. He's like, fuck that guy.
There's nothing wrong with that name.
There was nothing wrong with it until I was about 12 years old, and that no talent ass clown became famous and started winning Grammys.
And then, but the John C. McGinley's character, one of the Bobs, he's like, oh, I love Michael Bolton, he's talking about, I love when a man loves a woman's my favorite song. And which Michael Bolton song do you like? He's like, oh, and he's just kind of bullshitting just to get through the interview. He's like, well, it's hard to choose. I kind of like all of them. He's like, and he like agrees with him. He's like, I just knit so hard. He's such a great. I love his whole catalog and whatnot. He's just bullshitting the whole time.
It's a funny movie, and I just like the camaraderie, the humor, the stuff on there, right. The humor, the. Stuff about it's so funny, It's a 90s movie. It's a cult classic. Oh, yeah. I recommend it 100%.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so that's when they tell Peter about his promotion, and that they let him know that they're going to lay off Amir and Michael, his friends at the office, and he's taken back by that because they actually do a lot around the office. They're like the IT guys, and he's he's taken by surprise. So he wants to let them know. So he goes, invites Michael out for some drinks, and he starts talking to him because Michael mentioned earlier that he always had this kind of plan. He's always thought about where he created this virus that could take a little bit of money from the business accounts. It's like it would round up like the cents, and it would deposit it into a separate account, and then eventually over time it would add up to a bunch of money. So technically, they're skimming off the company profits. And he's like, have you thought about doing that? Because I think maybe we should think about doing that. And he's like, no, I don't want to lose my job. And he's like, well, and then that's when he breaks the news to him that, they're going to can you anyway. So maybe we should think about doing this. And, that's when they come up with the idea. So they involve Amir because he's the one that can actually get the virus onto the servers. So
yeah, it was like somehow he got it. And very, very talented actor. I don't know his name, but he is. So
he was hilarious.
Funny.
And then so they convince him. At first, he does, Zamir doesn't want to do it. They convince him. And they swear to each other that nobody should know about this but us. And then Diedrich Bader, he's through the wall. He's like, don't worry, I won't tell nobody. And they're like, what the fuck was that? He's like, oh, don't worry, that's just my neighbor. He's cool. And then so they upload the virus. It reminds me of like a Ocean's type heist movie.
Yep, it's just like Ocean's 11,
where they're like passing through the hallways and they're handing off the floppy disks to one another, and they're they work on uploading it, and finally they get it uploaded, and they're like, man, that was easier than I thought. But they get the program uploaded, so now it's just a waiting game because they said it could take up to like 3 or 4 years for the money to accumulate to be enough to actually use. So now is the waiting game. And then there's this douchey guy named Drew at the office. He reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the show Workaholics, but he reminds me a lot of Adam Devine.
Oh, yeah. Funny guy,
Yeah, so this guy, Drew, he comes over and says that, the character's name is Tom, the one that is played by the grandpa from Grounded for Life. So he says that Tom, he's in the hospital because he attempted suicide because he thought he was going to lose his job. And he was in his car and he had like the exhaust running in the garage. And then his wife walked in on him and he ended up not doing it after all because he saw her face. And then he decided, I'm not going to kill myself. And then he's like, I'm good. And he backs out of the driveway. He's going to drive somewhere. And then he gets hit by a car. And lucky for him, he survives. He's in a cast, like a full body cast with like headgear and everything. And he broke his like wrists and his ribs and some of his bones and whatnot.
And he got a 7-figure settlement.
Yeah, he got a huge settlement, and now he gets to retire and live that life. So he lucked out there. And so he was talking about that with the guy. Drew was talking about that with the guys and saying that he's inviting everyone to a barbecue as a celebration and whatnot. And so they all get invited. So eventually they go to the party, and then the guys end up celebrating themselves because they are on the precipice of sticking it to the man, sticking it to Initech, and taking the money that they feel like they so rightly deserve. And so in celebration, they go and destroy the fax machine that's been giving him trouble throughout the movie.
The fax machine that's an older fax machine, but the outro to it,
that montage was hilarious.
The montage was hilarious.
Can you describe that for me? That was pretty funny.
They were breaking the printer, that non-working computer, but of course, that was something that was a parody on Family Guy. So they did the same thing on Family Guy.
I think you're right. They did parody that on Family Guy.
But actually, it was about surfing birds, where Peter wanted to listen to the surfing birds, and of course Brian Suey didn't like it, and they were just stomping it in the field, and it was just like that.
Is that what that was?
Oh yeah, just like that.
Okay, I haven't seen that in a while, but yeah, this scene was hilarious. It's funny because they play like that rap music over it. It's supposed to be all. It sounds very serious, and what looks like they're beating up somebody, like you'd see in a movie where they're like stomping on it, but it's just like the freaking fax machine, and they're like hitting it with a bat and acting all it's like tough guys. Looks like they're doing a beat down on somebody, but it's just the crappy fax machine that they had enough of. Hilarious. I love it. It made me laugh out loud when I first saw it.
Hilarious. A laugh out loud.
And
comedy.
then so the next day, Jennifer Aniston's character asks Peter, she's like, "What were you guys celebrating last night?" And at first he's like, "No, I can't mention anything about it. It's kind of top secret and whatnot." And of course he breaks down and tells her the plan, and she's very apprehensive about it. She's like, "Isn't that just stealing?" He's like, "No, see, it's just kind of like the leftover cents, and we're just kind of simplifying the whole process and just rounding down, and we're putting that money in a separate account, and it's money that we deserve anyway." And she's like, "That's just technically stealing." And he's like, "You should know better than anyone about sticking it to the man. You hate your job." She's like, "Yeah, but I'm not going to take money out of the register." He's like, "Maybe you should."
Yeah.
So they go to Tom's party, and then of course, like I said, he's there in this huge body cast and whatnot, and he's explaining like how he lucked out, and he's like, good things happen if you wait long enough. And it's just funny seeing him say that because he's sitting there all broke, like a broken man in his wheelchair. He's like, "Look at me." And then Drew, the douchey guy that told him about the party.
Face. face.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
That was so weird, but very hilarious.
He sees Joanna, who was played by Jennifer Aniston, at the party, and she's like, "Oh, who invited the waitress?" And then, and Peter's like, "Oh, yeah, she's my girlfriend." He's like, "Oh, man, you better wear a condom because, she sleeps around. She slept with Lumberg." He's like, "Really?" He gets grossed out. And so on the car ride back, he berates her about it. And
and they both get angry
Yeah.
and angry and angry.
Oh, yeah. So I actually got ahead of myself. So they didn't split up at that point where she was talking about how it's a crime, what the plan is. They actually split up at this point. So, he's berating her that, how could you sleep with Lumberg? He's the enemy. He's like the devil, and this is disgusting. And so he berates her for it, and then that's the point where they actually end up separating for a bit. And later on, we find out that's the wrong Lumberg. There was a whole different guy named Lumberg. That's no relation to his boss.
Completely no relationship.
He feels stupid. He feels stupid,
something.
rightfully so. He should not have berated her. Either way, he shouldn't have berated her. But at this point, he's feeling insecure. And then I believe at this point is when they go and check the account, and they find out, oh shit, the program is messed up and it's been taking way too much money too fast. I forget how much was in their account, but it was like thousands of dollars, and it was supposed to accumulate slowly. And there's like, fuck, and then he goes to talk to Michael about it, and he's like, shit. He's like, I must have put the decimal place in the wrong point. I always do this. He's like, I always fuck up some mundane part of it, and then it always has big consequences. And then they're freaking out. At this point, they pretty much figure they're going to get caught. So they have to try and deactivate this before anyone notices. So they're trying to figure out how to do that. They're back at the office. It's Bill Lumbar, whatever his name is.
Bill
Party,
Lumberg.
right? Lumberg's party, and they're handing out cake, and of course Milton. They always
Tries to have a piece of cake, but he ends up passing it and passing it and passing it. It's like,
there's no more cake. They always like fucking with Milton, and he gets a piece of cake, and then there's a lady. She's like, "Now don't be greedy. You got to pass it on," and so everyone gets a piece, and fortunately,
it's a slice of cake.
He doesn't get a piece. And then on top of that, he later on. Milton's back in his office in the basement, and then Bill is like, "You know what? I'm going to need you to take care of the roach problem down here, and that'd be great," and whatnot. And then finally Milton. What does Milton say?
Okay, if they keep moving me again, I'll burn the building down.
Yeah, well, that was earlier, but then at this point he's like, "This is the last straw." So finally, accumulating kind of abuse from this company has kind of sent him over the edge, and so it'll end up all coming together in the end. Now, at this point, Bill is called upstairs because he got word that money was missing from the account, which is, of course, from our main characters and their little scheme. And so the guys are back at Peter's apartment freaking out, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They're thinking maybe they can get somebody who's like a drug dealer. I forget what their plan is. They're trying to find somebody who's dealt drugs to figure out, because they know nothing about.
Here's our introduction to Orlando Jones.
Yeah,
who was in Mad TV and various movies,
right.
And also the great thespian himself, the greatest actor who ever lived.
Yeah, and so they figured if they can get someone who's like dealt with drugs before, maybe he has experience in money laundering and all this stuff. So there's a guy that comes to the door, and I forget the character. Oh, his name's Steve. And so he's saying like, oh, I used to be into crack cocaine, but now I'm selling magazine subscriptions and whatnot. And so they pull him in and ask him for help, and it turns out he's like, to tell you the truth, guys, I was never on crack. I'm just, I got laid off from my job. I used to work at some tech company, and they've actually heard of the tech company before. And he's like, yeah, I was just lying to you. And it turns out I make more money off selling magazine subscriptions than I did at my old job. And they're like, wait, you used to work at, I forget what the company's name was, but they're like, you used to work at that company? Shit, we just told you our plan, and you know a lot of the same people we do. And then so he blackmails him into buying like 40 subscriptions of his magazine, or the magazine that he's selling. And then that leads nowhere.
Yeah, unfortunately. Just weird scenario, but
it was a very small part for Orlando Jones, but he was hilarious nonetheless.
But he's hilarious and a great actor.
Great thespian, as you say.
The great thespian himself.
So at this point, Peter figures, there's no hiding this, and he decides that he wants to take the blame. He goes back to Joanna and apologizes. Sorry, I can't speak.
Do you
sometimes.
understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
He apologizes to Joanna for the way he's been acting, the way he berated her, and he's saying he said, I found out it wasn't even the same Lumberg. I'm so sorry, and I'm going to take the blame for everything. And so he's basically, at this point, he's kind of coming to terms with it. He's kind of saying goodbye. He even goes back to his apartment and says bye to his friend Diedrich Bader, and he kind of packs up. And then Lawrence, his words of wisdom to him as he's going off.
Words of wisdom is very, very weird. But
yeah, his words of wisdom to him are,
Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
Watch out for your cornhole, bud.
And then Peter's like, all right, man, I'll see you later.
Thing about prison is they say it gets really rapey and whatnot. So anyway, not to get too off topic here. Peter arrives at Initech, and what do you know? The place is
burnt down,
ablaze. It's a blaze and a flame, and
a blaze.
Milton made good on his threats to burn the place down after all the.
No, it was him. It was like very, very mysterious.
After all the,
he's on the beach, and of course he asked someone for like, hey, I ordered this margarita with no salt, and
at the end of the movie,
and the server's
we'll
like,
get there. But it turns out he made good on his threat. He burnt down the place and he walked away. And that kind of solves all their problems, because now all the servers are burnt down and the computers are turned to ash, and they're dealing with way bigger problems now. And so they kind of get away with what they did. But the thing is, Peter tries to make right on the wrong that they did. So he decides to give the money to Milton. And he kind of lives his life in, I think he's like in Mexico or something.
On the beach,
on the
Mexico?
beaches, sipping tropical drinks and shit.
Drinks and all of that. And he asked that waiter, so like, hey waiter, there's I ordered a margarita, but I asked for no salt, and the waiter's like.
Yeah, the guy doesn't understand him, so he just kind of says something and walks away. And then, of course, Milton, he's always just kind of mumbling to himself. And Peter goes on to work construction with his friend, Lawrence, and Michael Bolton and Zamir. They go on to work at another company, probably the rival company that they were talking about earlier, that Orlando Jones used to work at. And, everything seems to turn out okay. And they're asking Peter if, like, hey, if you want, we can get you a job where we work. And he's like, you know what? I'm good. He's like, I'm getting some fresh air, getting some exercise. I think this is a good job for me. And, it leaves on a kind of a happy note. He kind of learned his lesson.
Yep.
And
it was a very, very good movie, and I highly recommend it 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely very relatable subject matter. I mean, I think we have all those moments where we're like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? And he went on his little journey of self-discovery, and he came back full circle and realized the things that were important to him, and he realized, that maybe it was time to be realistic about things. And I think he found something that, it wasn't his favorite thing to do. It wasn't the if I had $1 million, what would I do with my life idea. But he found something that, it wasn't going to drive him crazy. He was outdoors. He was making some money, and he could have some fun after work and whatnot, hanging out with his buddy at work. That's what it's all about. It's about finding the happy medium in life sometimes. You don't always get what you want, like the Stones say. But if you try sometimes,
always get what you want.
But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Okay, I don't want to pay the Stones for any. We got to stop singing. I don't want to pay the Stones any money. I don't have any money. I think we've overstayed our welcome. My name is Alec.
And my name's DJ, the Movie Man Wagner.
And we want to remind you, Slash. You're
the chairman of entertainment, COE.
We got to get you a name tag now, or like some kind of like a desk placard. And we enjoyed our time with you today, and we hope you join us next week. And we got to remember that we got to remind you that you should keep on watching. See
1
you later,
million
everybody.
subscribers, everyone.
I hate goodbyes.